What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move podcast. Today is February 21st at 7:13 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll be breaking down some NBA games for you guys today. Thank you to the supporters, subscribers, followers. We appreciate you guys. Also, thank you to the sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, I get my injury information from rotowire.com, ROTO wire.com. There really wasn't a whole lot that I saw this morning, but I would definitely check uh, this source or your favorite source a little bit closer to game time. The notable injuries that I did see was Cole Anthony for Phoenix is still out due to recently being traded. Devin Booker for Phoenix out with a hip issue. Embiid for Philly out with a knee and shin issue. Jaden Ivey for Chicago, questionable to play with a knee issue. Typically, when players are questionable, there's about a 50-50 chance that they play. Jalen Suggs for Orlando, questionable with back spasms. And Grayson Allen for Phoenix, questionable with an ankle issue. It's uh, it's really early, so they don't really have a whole lot of more injury information. But yeah, once again, I would check that throughout the day. And I know some people like to look at player props, obviously, and there are some things that I don't cover on this show that I think are beneficial. Some of those things include, is that specific player, let's say you like a player, to go over their point total, rebound total, or assist total. Is there points per 40 minutes that they're scoring at a career high or close to a career high? Or rebounds per 40 minutes, assists per 40 minutes. You can find that information on ESPN.com, and look at the advanced statistics tab. Also, like what has that player done in their last 10 games, 20 games, all season? Are they better on the road or at home? Do they have good history against a team or a specific player for that team? Are they playing in a revenge game? Did that team trade that player that player is going up against? Did they just let him go in free agency? How does the team that player is going up against defend against a specific category that you're looking at, or a specific that specific position? How many times does that player go over the line that's set in the last 10 or 20 games or all season? Or how many times does that player go over his line regardless of what it's set at? Is there any reason a player's usage rate might go up because of other teammates not playing? And, I would listen to other live streams. There are people with additional insights that I do not uh, either know about or have time for on this show. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the Houston and Knicks game. Then I'll start by the games that start first. I think, looking at these games for today, I would think people are most interested in this Knicks and Houston game. Houston's on a 1-game win streak, and the Knicks are on a 1-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Today is Steve Francis's birthday, who used to play for Houston. Obviously doesn't anymore. But yeah, the Knicks have won one regular season game in a row against Houston. These teams have not played against each other this season. Houston is 5-2 on the money line on Saturdays this season, and the Knicks are 3-3 on the money line on Saturdays this season. When I checked this line last night at 10 p.m. Eastern time, the Knicks were favored by 2.5. I checked this morning at about 5:45 a.m. Eastern time, and the Knicks were now minus 3.5. So They're 3.5-point favorites now, or at least at the time that I checked this morning. The over-under last night was 214.5. It's climbed up to 217.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game, and I give the Knicks advantages in 2 out of 3 of those trends. The Knicks do have the 9th best record against the spread this season. They're 31-26. Houston is 23-31 against the spread this season, which ranks 4th worst in the NBA. So I'll give the Knicks the advantage there. And then, Houston is a perfect 5-0 against the spread as a road underdog. And if I remember correctly, Detroit was 6-0 as a road underdog against the Knicks earlier this week. You may, want to check on a previous show, but, Detroit ended up covering, I believe, and I think they ended up winning that game. But yeah, Houston's a perfect 5-0 against the spread as a road underdog. The Knicks are 8-10 against the spread as a home favorite. So I'll give Houston the advantage there. And then Houston's 12-21 against the spread after a win. The Knicks are 9-11 against the spread after a loss. So I'll give the Knicks the advantage there. The over-under, I didn't do this for every game, but I did look at it for this game. When I checked this morning, the over-under was 217.5. All right. Let me backtrack a little bit. The Knicks have the 7th best record to the over this season. They're 29-28 to the over. So in games that the Knicks play in, whatever that over-under total points scored in the game is more times than not, the Knicks are going the games that the Knicks are involved in are going over that total. Once again, they're 29-28 to the over. The Rockets are 22-31-1 to the over. So the Knicks are the 7th best record to the over this season, and Houston's the 7th worst. And that seems to be the trend with these other stats that I looked at. Houston's 2-3 to the over as a road underdog this season, which ranks 9th worst. The Knicks are 14-14 to the over as a home favorite, which ranks 9th best. And then Houston's 14-19 to the over after a win, which ranks 9th worst. And the Knicks are 11-9 to the over after a loss, which ranks 4th best. And then, I noticed that Houston averages 115.9 points per game on the road this season. Going back to the over-under, it's 217.5 when I checked at 5:45 a.m. Eastern time. Anyways, Houston averages 115.9 points per game on the road this season. The Knicks allow 110.6 points per game at home this season. You get that average. You're looking at a projected total of 113.25 points for Houston today. I did that same calculation with the Knicks, and their projected total is 115.45. So if you combine those two, you're looking at 228.7. I did notice that 5 out of the last 10 meetings between these teams have had a combined score of 218 plus points. And then the last 6 out of 10 meetings that these teams played in games in which the Knicks were the home team had a combined score of 218 plus points. So more times than not, games are going over when Knicks are the home team in the last 10 meetings between these teams. Both of these teams are pretty good in regards to team defensive efficiency. Houston ranks 5th in team defensive efficiency. The Knicks rank 12th. So there's not really, huge defensive flaws for either team. The main flaw with the Knicks, and I've mentioned this on several other shows, is that 3-point defense. They're not terrible at it, but they do rank 20th as a team in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. So Reed Shepherd is that leader for Houston and ranks 38th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed by Kevin Durant, who ranks 42nd, and Jabari Smith Jr., who ranks 44th. The Knicks also ranked 15th in opponent free throws attempted per game. So they're average in that category. So, I could see Durant possibly taking advantage of that, considering that he does lead the Houston Rockets in free throw attempts per game and ranks 17th in that category in the entire NBA. Chengun ranks 24th in free throws attempted per game in the entire NBA, and then Amen Thompson ranks 32nd. And then with the Rockets defense, I don't really see a big flaw. They do rank 11th in both of these categories: points in the paint allowed per game and fast break points allowed per game. So if you do like somebody for the Knicks today, that would probably be the first spot that I would look at. Who for the Knicks is good at scoring points in the paint and or fast break points. And just off the top of my head, I believe it's Karl Anthony Towns and Brunson who are good at those points in the paint, and then fast break. I believe it's Mikal Bridges. But then once again, I'll be looking at some other factors that I listed at the start of the show. But other than that, yeah, I mean, Houston's just really sound defensively. They rank fifth best in 3-point field goals allowed per game, second best in assists allowed per game, third best in opponent rebounds allowed per game. So, yeah, it's a pretty tall task here today for really anybody that's going up against Houston, just because they're so good defensively. Then I did notice that Jalen Brunson hasn't had a triple-double in 16 career games against Houston, but he has had a double-double in 3 out of 16 career games against Houston. Josh Hart has never had a triple-double in 22 career games against Houston, but he's had a double-double in 5 out of 22 of those games against Houston. Chengun hasn't had a triple-double in all 6 career games that he's played against the Knicks, but he's had a double-double in 2 out of 6 of those games. And then Karl Anthony Towns has had a double-double in 17 of his last 25 career games against Houston. All right, so let's go back up to the top here and start with the game that starts first today, and that's going to be Orlando at Phoenix. Orlando is on a 1-game win streak. Phoenix 2-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Orlando has won 3 regular season games in a row against Phoenix. These teams have not played against each other this season. Orlando has a 5-3 money line record on Saturdays this season, and Phoenix has a 3-4 money line record on Saturdays this season. Orlando, let's see here. Phoenix has lost 4 consecutive games on this exact date, February 21st, against any team that they've played on this specific date. And then I did notice that Desmond Bane, the projected starting small forward for Orlando today, has a let me backtrack here. Dylan Brooks, the projected starting small forward for Phoenix today, has a 5-1 career record against Banchero. And then Dylan Brooks also has a 5-1 career record against Desmond Bane. Phoenix, last night when I checked at 10 p.m. Eastern time, Phoenix was favored by 2.5. When I checked this morning, a couple of hours ago, Phoenix went to -1.5. So that line's dropped a little bit. Same with that over/under. It was at 220.5 when I checked last night, 219.5 when I checked this morning. Looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this matchup, and Phoenix wins all 3 of those trends. Phoenix has the best record against the spread out of any team in the league this season. They're 35-21. Orlando's 22-32 against the spread this season, which ranks second worst in the entire NBA. So I'll give the Phoenix Suns the advantage there. And then Orlando is 4-7 against the spread as a road underdog, which ranks third worst in the NBA. Phoenix is 10-7 against the spread as a home favorite, which ranks sixth best. So I'll give Phoenix the advantage there. And then Orlando is 9-19 against the spread after a win, which ranks worst in the entire NBA. Phoenix is 15-8 against the spread after a loss, which ranks 5th best in the NBA. So Orlando, team defensive efficiency, they rank 13th in that category. So slightly above average in team defensive efficiency, but they do rank 20th in points in the paint allowed per game. Mark Williams, so that's below average, obviously, but slightly below average team defense for Orlando regarding those points in the paint allowed per game. And Mark Williams is the leader for Phoenix and ranks 47th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. Orlando is also slightly below average at defending against those fast break points per game. They rank 19th in that category. By the way, I'm getting a lot of these rankings from teamrankings.com. Okay. But Devin Booker's out today. He is the fast break points per game leader for Phoenix and ranks 28th best in the NBA. But if you know somebody else for Phoenix that's decent at scoring fast break points, I don't think that hurts your cause today. I've mentioned this on previous shows. Points in the paint, you're typically going to get more points in the paint per game than fast break points per game. But yeah, if you do like somebody today for Phoenix going over their point total and they're decent at getting those fast break points, you got that working for you today. Orlando ranks second best in the entire NBA in 3-point field goals allowed per game as a team. So that's a tall task for Phoenix 3-point shooters today. Orlando also ranks 8th best in assists allowed per game and rebounds allowed per game. So they're good at limiting those categories against opposing teams. And Orlando is below average in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. They rank 23rd in that category. Since Devin Booker is out, the next leader for Phoenix out of available players today is Dillon Brooks, who ranks 48th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. And then we have Phoenix team defensive efficiency. They rank 10th in that category. So they are a solid defensive team. I would say their biggest flaw out of the main categories that I look at is the opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. They are below average in that category. They rank 20th. Banchero is the leader for Orlando. He ranks 7th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game, followed by Desmond Bane, who ranks 49th in that category. And then, the next vulnerability I see here with Phoenix is not a huge vulnerability. They're still above average at limiting opposing teams to this category, but they do rank 13th in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So Banchero ranks 22nd best in the NBA, first on Orlando in rebounds per game, and then it's Wendell Carter who ranks 30th. Phoenix, they rank 10th best in points in the paint allowed per game, 6th best in fast break points allowed per game, 4th best in 3-point field goals allowed per game. So once again, very solid defensive team here. Banchero hasn't had a triple-double in 3 career games that he's played against Phoenix. Mark Williams has not had a double-double in 5 career games that he's played against Orlando. And then Wendell Carter Jr. has had 3 double-doubles in 9 career games that he's played against Phoenix. Then we have Philadelphia at New Orleans Pelicans. Philadelphia, 3-game losing streak. Pelicans, 2-game losing streak. Philadelphia didn't play yesterday, but the Pelicans did. Pelicans are on a back-to-back today. Philadelphia has won 1 regular season game in a row against the Pelicans, but the Pelicans won 4 regular season games in a row against Philadelphia before that. These teams played each other 1 time this season, and Philadelphia won by 10 points, 124-114. That game was played on January 31st at Philadelphia. This game today is at New Orleans. But that game was also played on a Saturday like it is today. In fact, Philadelphia is 6-1 on the money line on Saturdays this season, and the Pelicans are 1-6 on the money line on Saturdays this season. And I did notice that Embiid has a 4-0 career record against Herbert Jones, but Embiid's out. So that really doesn't apply today. All right. Philadelphia. When I checked last night, they're favored by 4.5 points. When I checked this morning, same thing. 4.5 point favorites for Philly. Last night, over under was 229.5. This morning, 230.5. I looked at 4 different against the spread trends in this game, and I give Philadelphia advantages in 3 out of 4 of those trends. Philadelphia does have the 7th best record in the NBA against the spread this season. They're 30-25, but the Pelicans are not far behind. They're 30-26-1 against the spread, so I'll give Philly a slight advantage there. Philadelphia has the best against the spread record as a road favorite this season. They're 9-2 against the spread as a road favorite. The Pelicans are still have a winning against the spread record as a home underdog. They're 12-10-1 against the spread as a home underdog, but I'd still give Philly the advantage there. Philadelphia has the 4th best record in the NBA against the spread after a loss. They're 16-8. The Pelicans do have a winning record against the spread after a loss as well, though. They're 21-19-1, but I do give Philly the advantage there. And then Philadelphia is 10-6 against the spread with rest advantage. The Pelicans are 8-4 against the spread with rest disadvantage. So give Pelicans the slight advantage there. All right. And then, team defensive efficiency. Let's talk about the Pelicans. They rank 27th, so 4th worst out of every NBA team in team defensive efficiency. They allow a good amount of points in the paint per game. They allow the sixth most points in the paint allowed per game to opposing teams. So I could see, Maxey taking advantage of that, considering he's the leader for Philadelphia in points in the paint per game and ranks 20th best in the NBA in that category. And then Embiid's the next, man up in points in the paint per game for Philadelphia, but he's out today. Fast break points allowed per game. The Pelicans rank 24th in that category, so they're below average at defending against those fast break points. Maxey not only leads the Philadelphia 76ers in fast break points per game, but he ranks 2nd best in the entire NBA in fast break points per game, followed up by next man up would be Beauchamp, who ranks 34th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. And then the Pelicans, they allow the 2nd most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Maxey not only leads the team, but ranks 7th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Pelicans, they rank 4th worst in preventing assists to opposing teams. Maxey is the leader once again here for Philadelphia. In assists per game, ranks 13th best in the NBA, followed by Edgecombe, who ranks 48th. And then the Pelicans allow the 4th most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Andre Drummond leads the Sixers and ranks 16th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. The Pelicans rank 14th in that category, so slightly above average, but still Maxey is the leader for Philadelphia in free throw attempts per game and ranks 18th best in the NBA. Philadelphia, team defensive efficiency, they're average. They rank 15th in that category. They are above average in limiting those points in the paint per game. They rank 13th in that category. But as you guys probably know, Zion Williamson is the leader for the Pelicans in points in the paint per game, ranked 2nd best in the NBA. But once again, Philly is slightly above average at defending against that. Where Philly is really vulnerable is those fast break points allowed per game. They rank 26th in that category. Trey Murphy, I think he missed yesterday for the Pelicans. Yeah, he was out yesterday, so we'll see if he plays today. He is the leader for the Pelicans in fast break points per game, and then it's Fears, who ranks 34th in the NBA. Philly's decent at limiting those 3-point field goals made per game. They rank 12th in that category. They allow the fifth most assists per game to opposing teams. So Derek Queen, I could see taking advantage of that today, considering he leads the Pelicans in assists per game and ranks 45th in the NBA in assists per game. And then Philadelphia is slightly below average in rebounds allowed per game. They rank 23rd in that category. Derek Queen is the leader in rebounds per game for New Orleans and ranks 32nd best in the NBA. Philadelphia slightly below average at limiting those free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. They rank 19th in that category. Zion Williamson is the leader for the Pelicans and ranks 5th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. And then it's Sadiq Bey, who ranks 46th. Embiid hasn't had a triple-double. Well, let's not talk about Embiid because he's out today, right? Drummond has had a triple-double in 12 out of 20 career games against the Pelicans. Tyrese Maxey has only had a double-double in 1 out of 8 career games against the Pelicans. And then Zion Williamson has had a double-double in 2 out of 6 career games against Philadelphia. And then we have Memphis at Miami. Memphis, 1-game win streak. Miami, 2-game win streak. Both of these teams did play yesterday. Miami has won 1 regular season game in a row against Memphis. These teams played against each other 1 time this season, and Miami won by 32 points, 146 to 114. That game was played on October 24th at Memphis. This game today is played at Miami. Memphis is 2-4 on the money line on Saturdays this season. Miami's 4-5 on the money line on Saturdays this season. I didn't get to look at this line last night, but when I checked this morning, Miami was favored by 10.5 points, over under 238.5. Looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this one. Miami leads those trends, 2 out of 3 of those trends. Miami does have the 3rd best record against the spread this season out of all teams in the NBA. They're 33-24 against the spread. Memphis has the 10th worst record against the spread this season. They're 25-29, so I'll give Miami the advantage there. Give Memphis a slight advantage here. They're 10-11 against the spread as a road underdog, but Miami's 9-11 against the spread as a home favorite. So by default, I'll give Memphis the advantage there, and then Miami. They're better against the spread after a win than Memphis is. Miami's 12-17 against the spread after a win. Memphis is 7-13 against the spread after a win. So I'll give Miami the slight advantage there. And then, Memphis team defensive efficiency, they rank 16th in that category. So it's just slightly below average in regards to just team defensive efficiency. If you don't know what that is, I've mentioned it on the show yesterday, the past few shows. Memphis points in the paint allowed per game. They rank 14th in that category, slightly below average at defending against that. Jaquez ranks 28th best in the NBA, first on the Miami Heat, and 28th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then Tyler Hero ranks 33rd in that category. I would also check if you're interested in playing, props on Jaquez or Tyler Hero. Now, Tyler Hero, I believe he came off the bench last night because it was his first game back. But, I see him in that projected starting lineup today. So we'll just kind of see. But, if I were interested in playing a Jaquez prop, I'd probably also look at not only the things that I talked about at the start of the show, but I would also look at, to see how many points per game that Memphis defense is allowing to bench players. I think that could be beneficial. But yeah, Memphis ranks 7th best in fast break points allowed per game, so they do a good job at defending against those fast break points. They allow the fourth most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams, though. And, Norman Powell is the leader for Miami, ranks 18th in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then Memphis slightly below average in assists allowed per game to opposing teams. They rank 19th in that category. Davion Mitchell is the leader for Miami, ranks 10th best in the NBA in assists per game. And then we have Jaquez, who ranks 41st in assists per game. And then Memphis slightly below average in rebounds allowed per game. They rank 18th in that category. Bam Adebayo is the leader for Miami in rebounds per game, ranks 10th best in the NBA, followed up by Khalil Ware, who ranks 11th best in the NBA in those rebounds per game. Memphis is pretty disciplined in regards to free throw attempts allowed per game. They rank 10th best in that category. And then just while we're on it, Miami ranks 7th best. So both of them are pretty disciplined when it comes to preventing those free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. Miami ranks 4th in team defensive efficiency, okay? But you'll see that they rank in the bottom half of the league in a lot of these categories because they're a fast-paced team, all right? And, obviously, I'm sure you guys know, but in case you don't, the way you judge to see if a team is a fast-paced or slow-paced is see how many possessions per game that they're getting. So if I'll just type in my search engine here, NBA team possessions per game, Miami is the fastest-paced team in the NBA. They have the most possessions per game out of any team in the league. Yet their team defensive efficiency ranks 4th. So that just goes to show, how that team defensive efficiency works. It takes that pace of play out of the equation. But yeah, Miami does rank 4th in that category, team defensive efficiency, but they rank 22nd, so below average in points in the paint allowed per game. Now, the points in the paint per game leaders for Memphis are out today, from my understanding. I would double check on that. Zach Edey and John Morant. But if you like somebody else from Memphis who's decent at scoring points in the paint today, other than those two, if they're still out, then you have that working with you today. Miami ranks 13th in fast break points allowed per game, so slightly above average. Ty Jerome for Memphis does lead Memphis in fast break points per game. He ranks 34th best in the NBA. Miami slightly below average in those 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. They rank 20th in that category. Cam Spencer is the leader for Memphis in 3-point field goals made per game and ranks 48th best in the NBA in that category. Miami ranks 25th in assists allowed per game. Cam Spencer is the leader for Memphis and ranks 24th best in the NBA in assists per game. And then Miami rebounds allowed per game. They rank 26th. So what's that? 5th worst. Alama is the leader for Memphis and ranks 45th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Then I did notice that Bam Adebayo for Miami has had a triple-double in 1 out of 15 career games against Memphis. He's not necessarily a triple-double machine, but, he's done it before. All right, Detroit at Chicago. Detroit, 4-game win streak. Chicago, 7-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Detroit has won 2 regular season games in a row against Chicago. These teams have played against each other 3 times this season, and Detroit leads the season series 2-1. The first meeting was on October 22nd at Chicago, like this game is here today. And Chicago won by 4 points, 115-111. The second meeting was on November 12th at Detroit, and Detroit won by 11 points, 124-113. The most recent meeting was on January 7th at Detroit, and Detroit won 108-93. Detroit has a 6-1 money line record on Saturdays this season. The Bulls are 5-5 on Saturdays this season on that money line. Chicago has won 3 consecutive games that they've played any team on this exact date, February 21st. Tobias Harris, the projected starting power forward for Detroit today, has an 8-3 career record against Josh Giddey. I saw that Jaden Ivey is questionable to play today for the Bulls, but if he plays, this could be a revenge spot for him considering Detroit traded him to Chicago on February 3rd of this year. When I checked last night, Detroit was favored by 10.5. When I checked this morning, Detroit was favored by 10.5. The over-under last night was 229.5, but it's climbed up from when I checked earlier this morning to 232.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game. Detroit won those trends, 2 out of 3 of those trends. And before we continue on with these trends on the against the spread trends, and I keep mentioning this on these shows because I don't want people to say, oh, this team is better against the spread. Let me just go ahead and take this team. In fact, at least the last 2 shows, right, where I've given a team an against the spread advantage, that team has ended up losing at least the past couple days. More times than not, that team that has those against the spread advantages ends up losing. So, I would just keep that in mind. I would keep track as best as I could if I were watching a show like this on how many times these guys who have against the spread advantages are actually covering. How many times are they winning? How many times are they losing? Same with the line movement, there's a lot of different things that I'd be keeping track of. Okay. But I just wanted to get that out there. Detroit is better against the spread than the Bulls are. Detroit's 29-25 against the spread. The Bulls are 25-31 against the spread, which ranks 8th worst in the NBA. Overall, give Detroit the advantage there. Detroit is 7-12 against the spread as a road favorite, which ranks 10th worst in the NBA. Chicago 8-6 against the spread as a home underdog. So I'll give the Chicago Bulls the advantage there. And then Detroit is 20-20 against the spread after a win. Chicago is 11-20 against the spread after a loss. So I will give Detroit the advantage there. By the way, Chicago 11-20 against the spread after a loss, ranks 2nd worst in the NBA. Team defensive efficiency. We have a really good team that has a good team defensive efficiency going up against a bad defensive efficiency team. Let's start with Chicago. They rank 26th in team defensive efficiency. There's 30 teams in the NBA, so that's pretty bad, They rank 27th in points in the paint allowed per game. So, 4th worst? Jalen Doran ranks 5th best in the entire NBA and 1st on the Detroit Pistons in points in the paint per game, followed by Cade Cunningham, who ranks 16th best in that category. Chicago, slightly below average at defending against those fast break points per game. They rank 17th in that category. Cade Cunningham is the leader for Detroit in fast break points per game, and he ranks 13th best in the NBA in that category. Chicago, 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 22nd in that category, slightly below average at defending against those 3-point field goals as a team. Duncan Robinson is the leader for Detroit and ranks 16th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. But for all I know, Duncan Robinson, maybe Chicago is a lockdown at defending against that 3-point shot to small shooting guards, since that's what Duncan Robinson's projected to play today. I see that Anthony Simons plays with the Bulls. Maybe Duncan Robinson is not good. Maybe he doesn't have good history shooting making 3-pointers against the Bulls. But he does against Anthony Simons, which could be huge because Anthony Simons hasn't played with the Bulls for a long time, So you could also look at how Duncan Robinson has done against Anthony Simons um, in that head-to-head matchup. Typically, what I'll do in that situation is just look at Duncan Robinson versus Anthony Simons head-to-head statistics. Usually takes me to the landofbasketball.com, and then you get to see, what they've done against each other. Assists allowed per game. Chicago ranks 28th in that category. So, third worst team at preventing assists per game. Cade Cunningham not only ranks first on Detroit, but ranks second best in the entire NBA in assists per game. And then Chicago slightly below average in rebounds allowed per game. They rank 17th in that category. Jalen Doran is the leader for Detroit and ranks 8th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Chicago is actually pretty decent at limiting those free throw attempts per game. They rank 12th in that category. And that's really where Detroit's biggest flaw is. I mean, yeah, Detroit ranks second best in the NBA in team defensive efficiency, but they send their opponents to the free throw line a lot. They actually rank last in free throw attempts allowed per game to opposing teams. So teams are getting plenty of free throw opportunities against Detroit. For the Bulls, though, there's nobody that ranks in the top 50 of the NBA for the Bulls in free throw attempts per game. The first guy that I saw that ranks up there for the Bulls is Buzelis, who ranks 74th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. And I get, those player rankings from NBA.com. Okay. And then, Detroit points in the paint allowed per game. They rank third best in that category. Fast break points allowed per game. They rank fifth best. 3-point field goals allowed per game, eighth best. Assists allowed per game. They allow the fewest assists per game to opposing teams, the fifth fewest rebounds per game to opposing teams. I had somebody join the live stream yesterday, and they asked me, why did this guy not go over his rebound prop? And when it was Houston, it was Şengün versus the Hornets, and the first red flag to me would be that the Hornets allowed the fewest rebounds per game to opposing teams. So, obviously there are still times where players go over their rebound line against Charlotte, but that would be like, a pretty big red flag to me. Unless you see a trend where you see that players are consistently going over those rebound lines against Charlotte, maybe specifically centers. There's a lot of other different factors, but that would be, a red flag. And I mention that because Detroit ranks first in assists allowed per game to opposing teams. I noticed that Cade Cunningham has not had a triple-double in 10 career games against Chicago. However, he has had a double-double in 4 out of 10 career games against Chicago. Jalen Doran has had a double-double in 7 out of 11 career games against Chicago. And then Josh Giddey has never had a triple-double in 10 career games against Detroit, but he has had a double-double in 3 out of 10 career games against Detroit. And then this is a game that I'm looking forward to today. I mean, Sacramento at San Antonio. Sacramento's on a 15-game losing streak. The Spurs are on a 7-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. The Spurs have won one regular season game in a row against Sacramento. They played against each other one time earlier this season, and the Spurs won 123-110. That game was played on November 16th at San Antonio, like it is here today. The Sacramento Kings are actually 4-2 on the money line on Saturdays this season. The Spurs are 5-3 on the money line on Saturdays this season, though. The Kings have lost 7 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date, February 21st. But I did notice, guys, I'm not saying the Kings are the pick, but it's interesting that Russell Westbrook does have a 4-1 career record against Wembanyama. DeRozan plays with the Kings now, and he was traded by the Spurs back in 2021. So that could be a revenge spot. Maybe he plays with an extra chip on his shoulder today. DeRozan also needs 44 points to move into 21st place on the all-time points leaders list. And he also needs 11 free throws made to move into 12th place on the all-time free throws leaders list. But as we know, De'Aaron Fox used to play with the Kings as well, and he was traded from Sacramento to San Antonio back in 2025. So if you like those revenge aspects, you got plenty of them going around in this game. Okay. The Spurs, when I looked last night, they were favored by 17.5 points. When I checked this morning, they're favored by 18.5. Over under 226.5 when I checked last night. It's climbed to 228.5 when I checked earlier this morning. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game, and the Spurs win. They lead all three of those trends. The Spurs have the 4th best record against the spread. Just in general, they're 31, 23, and 2 against the spread. And then the Kings have the worst record against the spread in the entire NBA. They rank worst. They're 21 and 36 against the spread. So I'll give the Spurs the advantage there. The Spurs are 13, 10, and 1 against the spread as a home favorite, which ranks 7th best in the NBA. The Kings are 9 and 18 against the spread as a road underdog, which ranks 2nd worst in the NBA. So I'll give the Spurs the advantage there. And then these Spurs are 20-16 and 2 against the spread after a win, which ranks 6th best in the NBA. The Kings, they're 15 and 29 against the spread after a loss, which ranks worst in the NBA. Give Spurs the advantage there. Another good defensive efficient team going up against a bad one. Sacramento, they rank 29th in team defensive efficiency, so they have a bad defense. They allow the 3rd most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. Wembanyama is the leader for the Spurs and ranks 35th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. Sacramento actually does a pretty decent job at limiting fast break points per game and 3-point field goals per game, considering that they rank 29th in team defensive efficiency. They rank 12th in fast break points allowed per game, so that's slightly above average. Castle for the Spurs ranks 39th in the NBA in fast break points per game. Dylan Harper ranks 48th, and then Vassell ranks 49th. Sacramento ranks 13th in 3-point field goals allowed per game, so slightly above average. Champagny ranks first on the team, 40th in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, and then it's Vassell, who ranks 41st. Sacramento, they rank 24th in assists allowed per game, slightly below average, or maybe not slightly. They're getting close to the bottom of the barrel there. Castle is the leader for the Spurs, ranks 11th best in the NBA in assists per game, and then it's De'Aaron Fox, who ranks 17th. Sacramento, below average in rebounds allowed per game. They rank 21st. Wembanyama is the leader for the Spurs. Comes to no surprise. He ranks 5th best in the NBA in rebounds per game, followed by Cornette, who ranks 44th. Sacramento is also sending their opponents to the line quite often. They rank 24th in free throw attempts allowed per game. Wembanyama ranks 1st on the team, 10th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game, followed by Castle, who ranks 26th, De'Aaron Fox, who ranks 50th. And I know, some people are probably interested in those Wembanyama block props. Something that I would look at is to see, blocks allowed per game in the NBA. Let's go see how many times opponent blocks per game. Opponent block. How many times is Sacramento getting blocked? They actually rank 14th, so they're not getting blocked, a ton this season. They're about average. The team that's actually getting the block the most is going to be Portland, Utah, New Orleans Pelicans, Detroit, Washington. Those would be the top 5 teams that are getting blocked. Um, Obviously, there's some other factors that you could look into if you're interested in those shot blocking props there for Wimby. But the Spurs, they rank third in team defensive efficiencies, so they're good in that regard. They rank seventh best in points in the paint allowed per game, second best in fast break points allowed per game. So I think in order for the Kings to really hang around in this game, they'll need some 3-point shooting. Malik Monk. Well, let's go back a little bit. The Spurs rank 15th in 3-point field goals allowed per game, so that seems to be their biggest flaw. Is that 3-point defense? But the Kings are not exactly 3-point sharp shooters, right? Malik Monk is the leader for this team in 3-point field goals made per game, and he ranks 52nd best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Then it's Westbrook, who ranks 62nd, and then Hunter, who ranks 93rd. Spurs rank 12th best in assists allowed per game, 9th best in rebounds allowed per game, 2nd best in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. And I did notice Russell Westbrook has had a triple-double in 4 of his last 25 games against the Spurs. Wembanyama has had a triple-double in 1 out of 4 career games against Sacramento. But he has had a double-double in 3 out of 4 career games against Sacramento. And I believe the game that he didn't, he was 1 rebound shy from doing that. And then De'Aaron Fox has had a double-double in 1 out of 2 career games against the Spurs. It'd be pretty wild to see the Kings win today. But, I mean, I like the Spurs, but I kind of want to see it to happen. You know what I mean? 15-game losing streak, 7-game win streak, bad team versus good team. It'd be pretty funny. Anyways, thanks for joining today, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Good luck on your picks. And once again, thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon. Good luck.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.